Hi, Mike Franzone, and welcome to my YouTube station, Mike Franzone Ministries. Hope you like and subscribe. We are going through the book of the Revelation, and we have already looked at Revelation chapter 6, looking at the four horsemen of the apocalypse. We looked at the white horse, the red horse. You can find that on my YouTube station. So today we want to look at the black horse, Revelation chapter 6. The black horse is revealed. Verse 5 and 6, I want to read that to you, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Revelation chapter 6, verse 5 and 6. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine." Revelation chapter 6 is set at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation on earth. It's also a harbinger, a preview of what will take place during the 7-year tribulation here on earth. Verse 1 and 2, we saw the rider on the white horse. That's false peace. That's the Antichrist. That's not Jesus. Jesus is in Revelation 19. Revelation 6, this is the Antichrist who brings a false peace to the world. Revelation 6, verse 3 and 4, we looked at the rider on the red horse. That's a great war coming. I believe it's going to be World War III. The Bible said there's going to be a great slaughter. You can go to Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39. You'll see that. Terrible, terrible bloodshed. Now that brings us here, all right, to the third seal that is opened. And this is the rider on the black horse here, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Verse 5, black horse. Why? In the Old Testament, black symbolized extreme famine. It symbolized destitution, poverty, want, and need. Listen to Lamentations. This is the book that Jeremiah wrote. It's right after the book of Jeremiah. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 8. I want you to listen to this. Now, their appearance is blacker than soot. They go unrecognized in the streets. Their skin clings to their bones. It has become dry as wood. He's speaking about the famine and the degradation of Zion, the degradation of the nation of Israel, more specifically there of Jerusalem, and the poverty and the famine. And it says that their skin was black as soot. You see, global economic disaster is coming. Global food shortages, and what I talked about in Revelations chapter 6, the previous, verse 3 and 4, about the World War III. And if there's World War III, then there's going to be civil unrest, there's going to be anarchy. And when all of these things happen, the food supply is destroyed, the food transportation is interrupted. Isn't it crazy? This is what we're seeing in California. Our food supply, the first time in American history, our food supply is disrupted. Transportation is disrupted. And I would say because of the stupid decisions they've made in this current regime or government. I want to think about 2020, when we had this COVID pandemic. People panicked. There were food shortages, toilet paper shortages. Studies show that it takes about 72 hours. When a population goes hungry, it takes about 72 hours for there to be major chaos, crime, and rioting. And isn't it crazy that we're already seeing that today? San Francisco, LA, Chicago, New York, you see crime and rioting already in the streets. You know, when people are just trying to live, vanity goes out the door. I don't care how you look. That's what they're thinking. I don't care how I look. I don't care what I'm wearing. When I'm trying to survive, then vanity is gone. History shows that when people are just trying to survive, they quit bathing. They sell their clothes for food. And they basically get dirtier and dirtier, and they get black because they just want to live. Everything else is not important. What I'm wearing, what I am wearing, none of that matters at all. I just want food because I want to survive. And this is what we see here when the black horse is revealed because of World War III, because of chaos, because of rioting, because of this food supply and the shortages. People are going hungry. Verse 5, I thought it kind of identifies the problem here. He says, I looked and behold a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. Now, that was a common measuring device back then. You had two small trays that were hung from each end on a balance. All right, you had the balance, and then you had a scale, a tray here and a tray there. And it symbolizes here in verse 5 food rationing, the scarcity of food. It must be weighed out. Long lines, he says, are coming. Food will be as precious as gold. And to a large part of the population, they will be trying to survive because food will be as precious as gold and silver. You know, I love America. Thank God every day I do that I'm born in this wonderful country. And if you look around the world, probably 75% of the planet are spending a large part of their day securing food. We need to understand we're a blessed people. Now, verse 6 identifies the situation. I love the way he puts it here. He says here in verse 6, I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. So the question is here, what is a denarius? A denarius is a silver Roman coin equal to 1 day's wages. This is for the common worker. This is his minimum wage. 1 day wages, the silver Roman coin. And then he uses the little phrase, quart of wheat. So what is he saying here? He says here, a quart of wheat for 1 day's wages. So the quart of wheat is the approximate amount of food to sustain one person for 1 day. So let me let you know what he's saying. You will work hard for a whole day. You will have enough food to feed yourself. You worked all day. You got enough food to feed yourself. Hyperinflation. Weimar Republic on steroids, all right? 1 day's salary to feed one person. And now let's think about this. What about your family? What about your wife and your kids and your mom and your dad and all the relatives and everybody else? What about them? Verse 6, he says this. He says, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. The kind and quality of food you can buy will degenerate. It will degenerate. And to survive, you must purchase a lower quality of food. That's what he's speaking about here. Because barley back in those days was a grain with the lowest nutrient value. This grain was used to feed animals. It was used to feed the extreme poor. What is he saying here? He's saying here that things during the tribulation time will be so bad that you will eat a lower quality of food. Maybe you'll eat dog food, cat food, bird food. You will eat a lower quality of food so your family of 3 can eat 1 meal. That's what war does, isn't it? War, riots, these things. War creates famine. Shortages create higher prices. We're seeing that today. Higher prices create inflation. And this creates panic in the marketplace. And now Revelations 13, verse 16 to 17 makes sense. Let me just pull that out here. I want to read to you Revelations 13, verse 16 and 17. That all makes sense. The Bible just fits together here. Verse 16, Revelations 13. He causes all, that's the false prophet, he causes all both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and on their foreheads, that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. You can't be involved in the marketplace. You can't buy, you can't sell, therefore you can't eat unless you take the mark of the beast. And now all of this fits together, doesn't it? So if you're starving, you're going to do anything you can for yourself so you'll survive. If your family's starving, well, you're willing to take the mark of the beast. And basically, that is damnation. The Bible says you will go to hell. Are you willing to do that just to feed your family? This is how bad it's going to get. Now, verse 6. This is so unusual, but I want to bring it out to you. Revelations chapter 6 again, verse 6. He says here, do not harm the oil and the wheat. You'll work one day to get one day's wages. You'll work one day, all right, to just get enough lower quality of food just so your family can just barely survive. But don't harm the oil and the wine. Why did he put that phrase in there? Olive oil and wine are luxury items. There were luxury items there. There are luxury items even today. There was one group, obviously olive oil is not, but back then it will be. There was one group that will not be affected by the famine. That's the rich. And the gulf and divide between the rich and the poor, even today, continues to grow wider. And he says here, during the tribulation time, only the wealthy will have enough to survive. Don't harm the oil, don't harm the wheat. And what a lesson for us today. This is a lesson in socialism. Because in socialism, they make all the promises how we're all going to get free this, free that, free this. We're all going to be the same. That's not the way it works. In socialism, as in communism and fascism, only a very few at the top will get rich. Only a very few at the top will have all the food, all the income, all the luxuries, the oil, and the wine. The middle class and the poor will become the same. They'll all be much poorer. All these kids on college campuses today, politicians and all of this, these are what Stalin called useful idiots. Useful idiots to help move the machinery of socialism. You have to have the useful idiots who think it's going to be paradise, it's going to be utopia, when just the opposite's going to happen, and there'll be a separation between the elites, those who have everything, who are in control of everything, and those of us who have nothing and are not in control of anything. Socialism, Marxism, fascism, communism, social justice, critical race theory, all of these come from the same tree. All anti-God, all anti-Christian, all anti-humanity. And we're going to see this here during the tribulation time, socialism on steroids. Verse 6, the rich live it up, they flourish, they have food, they have wine, they have luxury. These are the elitists, these are the politicians, they're the media, they're the stars. All of these people. And the Antichrist, now think about this, the Antichrist, he wants to be a man of the people. And he says the Antichrist sees all of this, and this could be his justification for Revelations 13, 16, and 17. He can control the world through the economic marketplace. Let me say that again because I think it's kind of a salient point to what's going on today. You could control the world through the economic marketplace. The world will allow it. Why? Because they want to feed their families. Antichrist says, wait a minute, this is enough. No more I can stop all of this. This is terrible. We have people that are living like kings, and the majority of you are living, like paupers. You have no money, no food. He says we need social justice. And the Antichrist becomes a hero. The Antichrist becomes a savior to the masses. You know that what he says. He says desperate times calls for desperate times call for desperate measures. It's class warfare on steroids. And he says, you know what? Of all the great things, that all you have to do is be part of my group. All right? You just take the mark of the beast. Because when you take the mark of the beast, you'll be able to buy and sell. You'll be involved in the marketplace. You're going to take care of your family and your friends and your mom and your dad and your kids. Everything's going to be, just take this. Just take the mark. That's all. And that's the way we can identify who you are. So you'll be able to go and buy and sell, and you'll get the best of the best. The beast will control the world through the world's own hunger. Even now, you have the World Economic Forum, the UN, banks, the federal government. They're all talking about how they can control the world's food supply. Even Bill Gates is buying up millions of acres of farmland. Why? It's coming, folks. It's coming. This is the rider on the black horse. This will be part of the tribulation time as well. All right. I want you to be looking on my site, because I'll be putting out in a day or two the Pale Rider. This is the last horseman of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The Pale Rider. We'll look at that next. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you like and subscribe. Bye. God bless.